probably had discussions of what's going on with that. If there is a overflow of criminals and we can't contain them, it's obvious that we've got to build pods on to move it. That is public safety. That's a priority of mine. We support the Sheriff's Department, and some of them decisions would have to look at where do we build those pods. I think the old plan was to go on top of the parking lot center. I would be against some of these buildings that the city has vacated, asbestos problems, electric problems, plumbing. It may be not even efficient to redo a building like that to accommodate the Sheriff's Department. I do think it's very important to keep those criminals close to the court systems. Moving it out to Archer is not something that I would look as a solution at this point. I think adding on pods is the key there, and if it's on top of the parking lot, and those discussions have to be made with the Sheriff's Department. Danny Glick's the head of that department. He would bring those proposals to the commissioners. We would all have to agree. My opinion is only 20% of the board. I'm sure that we would figure out a solution for public safety there.
Will you read the question again?
Sure, it says, what can be done to fix the sheriff's office? Well, it actually says SO, but I assume that's sheriff's office.
Okay, so I guess my interpretation of the question is a little different in terms of the fact that the sheriff is an elected official by his own right. He is our equal, just as is the assessor, the coroner, the treasurer, the clerk of court. All of the elected officials are equal. And so that means that we have to work together. But it also means that as a citizen, you have an obligation to become informed. If you don't like the way that the Sheriff's Department is performing, then you need to become informed, and at the next election work for the candidate that you feel like represents your viewpoints. Because as a commissioner, I have no control over the sheriff. He is there in his own elected right. We do control and approve the budget, and we do approve the hiring of new positions. So we don't approve who goes into the positions, but we approve the creation of a new position. And that, outside of that, the sheriff is his own elected official in his own right and beyond the scope of our power.
I wouldn't necessarily say that the Sheriff's Department is broken. I get the pleasure of working with the sheriffs every day at both the fire department and the ambulance. So I talk to a lot of these guys, and I do know that they're understaffed and they are underpaid. The jail's overcrowded most of the time and near capacity. So I feel that without raising any taxes, we need to find room to be able to provide more sheriff's deputies, not only for the jail, but to patrol the county. And we've got to get the jail expansion in there.
I guess I'm not sure exactly what fix means. I think Amber explained it pretty good, that Sheriff Glick is an elected official just as the commissioners are, and that the only control that we have over the Sheriff's Department is that he submits a budget, and then we work together and finalize that budget on the Sheriff's Department's recommendations. I think one thing we can do is try and make sure that there's sufficient money there so that they have sufficient deputies as per his request, and also that we do know that the jail is becoming close to being overcrowded, and trying to get that fixed physically before we do run into major problems with overcrowding of criminals.
All right, thank you. This next question will start with Amber. In Cheyenne or Greater Cheyenne, or excuse me, I already messed it up. Is Cheyenne or Greater Cheyenne growing at a rate that is just right, too fast, not too fast for Laramie County, and why?
Well, I guess, the ideal scenario is to be experiencing growth somewhere around 3%. There's a variety of factors that go into play there, and so you have to consider, do you have the infrastructure to absorb additional growth? In our case, obviously, the growth that we've incurred up to this point has stressed our existing infrastructure. We've repeatedly mentioned tonight the jail and the courthouse remodel as being one of those things where the jail is at or near capacity, and we need to expand that. The court, we've been approved for a judge, but we don't have a facility for them, so the legislature hasn't funded the position until we provide the facility. So I think, when you talk in terms of growth, ideally you're seeking to be somewhere around 3%. The goal is inevitably that growth occur at a rate in which your infrastructure can maintain pace. The objective with expansion then is to be able to absorb that growth for the next 10 to 20 years. Growth has occurred faster than what previous studies indicated it would. Originally, we were supposed to have several more years left on the jail. Unfortunately, when growth occurs faster, then we don't have those facilities, and so that's a matter of perception. Some people would tell you that they don't want to grow at all. They like Cheyenne the way it is. Some people would tell you that Cheyenne needs to grow faster. So for me, I think around 3%.
I think that Cheyenne and Laramie County are growing just about the right pace. In places you can see where they've outgrown infrastructure, public safety, but I think having a good plan in place to monitor that growth and look at future growth and make sure that your growth is not outgrowth is not outpacing your infrastructure and your public safety is important.
I guess my opinion is I think the growth in Cheyenne community is about like it should be. I remember the times back in the 60s and 70s when Cheyenne wasn't growing at all. Everybody complained about their kids all had to move away from Cheyenne in order to find a decent job. That's still happening somewhat today, but I think our growth right now is probably about right. We seem to be, both the city and the county seem to be handling it pretty well, and we are providing new jobs all the time, and I think that's the reason that you want to grow is if you want to have your family around you, you have to have decent paying jobs. And in order to do that in this world, you have to have some growth, you have to have a diversity of growth. We've got jobs all the way from, shall we say, assembly of firearms to handling dangerous material to IT stuff going on in Laramie County. So there is a great variety of jobs available, and hopefully any of the youth that wish to stay in Laramie County, there is a job available for them at a living wage.
I do think that you'll see what would happen if we grow too fast. July 20th through the 31st. I don't believe this community could handle that kind of growth all at once. I would never want this Laramie County to become Californicated like Colorado has become. I do think that offering Magpul and Microsoft and some of these businesses coming in here, they're coming in for the low tax structures and to get away from regulations. And if we stick to them simple things, low tax structures and limited regulations, you'll see more businesses want to come here. It's not because we roll out a red carpet and then maybe throw a few rocks under that carpet, hoping that that business, through the business council, getting those front monies up front, won't leave and leave us nothing but rocks under that red carpet. I do think we need to grow. We have to provide jobs for our youth to stay here, but we need to grow on our terms, Laramie County terms, what the citizens want to do and how fast they want to grow. If it's 3%, it is 3%. But I don't think we ever want to become Colorado and what's happened to them, smaller communities down there because of the California people moving out, because of the regulations out west. It is a 500-pound gorilla in the room. We take control of the regulations, we'll have the money to grow, and we'll keep our tax structures low.
Okay, Kevin, we'll start with you. And this question, because we have the time, I'm going to break into a couple parts. UDC codes, are you for them or against them, and why?
I think it depends, basically. They can be good, they also have their drawbacks. If it's gonna totally handcuff or make it less efficient for people to run their businesses, then I'm absolutely totally against it.
Read the question again, please.
Well, this is, like I said, this really needs to be a multi-part question, that's why I'm breaking it down. The UDC codes, are you for them or against them, and why?
I don't get what you're talking about.
Would you
The
like-
decos or?
UDC, sorry.
Oh, UDC,
Sorry,
okay. I didn't understand, yeah. UDC, I'm against the UDC wholeheartedly. The city's got it, and what a mess. Supposedly, the UDC is supposed to give you more flexibility, and maybe it does, but the people that are administering it are using that flexibility to do what they want to have the citizens do. So there's no end to this. I'm totally against the UDC. We do have out in the county, we do have some building codes. Some of those I like, some of them I'm not very fond of, but you have to have a certain amount of regulation to protect some of the population that's not real smart about building and have to protect them.
Against them. I think UDC code's the problem, definitely for the city. Even if they separate the planning, department, it doesn't matter. It's those codes, it's the MPO and Plan Cheyenne, period. You have to get rid of that, and you have to go to plumbing, electrical, safety, especially the county. Plumbing and those type codes. Let's get these developments going with a lot faster process of getting these permits to these developers so their men ain't standing around. UDC code would only slow that down. Definitely against it being in our county.
So I think first off, we need to address the fact that the county is required to adopt whatever the state adopts. And so unlike cities, municipalities, we do not have home rule. We are literally an extension of the state, and that means that when the state passes codes, they actually send us a letter, and in that letter it says you have 6 months to update and adopt the codes that we have adopted. We do have the capability within that to go in and modify those. However, as I said before, that really originates at the state and is passed down to us. And so I think sometimes people tend to forget that the county does not have home rule. We are an extension, the local arm of the state, and that cities and towns do have home rule, and they have the ability to make those decisions.
Okay, and I think we started with Kevin, so I've become back under the buck. And we continue to try to break this question up a little bit. Citizens being able to petition in the courthouse, are you for it or against it?
Well, I think that question was brought up several years ago in front of the county commissioners. I think it was voted down. There are several reasons for that. Even though the courthouse is a public place, we polled several of the people that do business there, whether they work there or whether they come in and do business quite a bit. And many of those people didn't want to be bothered by having somebody shove a petition in front of their face on I don't know how many occasions. So we as commissioners continued with the rule that there would be no petitioning in the courthouse. I know we have some detractors about that, but in visiting with the majority of the people in Laramie County, they wish when they come inside the courthouse that they can come do the business that they wish to do inside the courthouse and not have a petition shoved in front of them. There is petitioning available outside, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with petitioning any place where it doesn't interfere with the business. Thank you.
I'm in favor of being treated like a human being when you're doing the lowest form of government that's bound by the Constitution. If you're against petitioning and the Constitution, then I don't know what your oath to office means. You have to have a place to approach somebody. Are you a registered voter? No. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. 7,600 signatures were required, standing out in cold weather, shivering, shaking, put your pens inside your coat just so they could write their signature down. It's ridiculous. One thing I wish that it did was push for petition inside. We have a little booth that's off to the left-hand side that's in between the two doors. And I think that would be a great place to do petition work. But we do auctions of houses in there. You know, when we have repos, there is people flowing back and forth. If you're not interested in signing the petition, or you're being a rude petitioner, you're never going to get the signatures anyway. This is a First Amendment right, constitutional right, and it should have been a unanimous decision to pass it and treat petitioners like human beings.
So as previously was mentioned, this issue did become before the county commission a few years ago. I voted in favor of it. I thought that, one, that it gets really cold in Wyoming, and there are certain dates and times in which you have to collect a number of signatures to put an item on petition, and it's going to depend what it is on how many signatures you have to have and how long you have to collect those. But I did vote in favor of that because I think you have to give some consideration to the fact that it is very cold here, and I honestly think that in this case, Mr. Hazenauer makes a good point that you know, I think it's the same argument when we talk about guns and people trying to regulate guns and they try to do it because of a few bad people. I think it's inevitable to know that you will have a few bad people when it comes to petitioning, that there are going to be people that you are going to have to ask to remove themselves from the courthouse because that they won't follow the rules. But I also think that that not everybody should be penalized because of a few bad apples. And so I supported that when it was before us a few years ago, and I would support it again.
I think being that it's a public building, people should have the right to be able to petition there in the courthouse, same as they have the right to in any other public building in the city or the county.
All right, Emily, you could, yes, Emily's. Again, I'm breaking up this question, so I'm trying to make sense of it here. We'll go with the last part of it. What can we expect in ways of conservative values from you?
Well, that's the only values that I think that you should have in government is sticking to your principles, knowing the Constitution, applying state statute, doing the will of the people. Absolutely. It is the one document that holds federal government to obey. If you was to use the power of the purse, the Constitution is the ultimate thing to use in local, state, and federal government, period.
So I guess, you know, this question is, everybody up here is running on the Republican platform, which I think would indicate that all four of us share those similar conservative values. And so particularly as it relates to being conservative in how we spend money and making sure that we are accountable back to the taxpayer. I think part of that is having a good understanding of the budget and the different accounts in it and how they work, having a strong understanding of what our statutory obligations are, and being committed to government that is necessary, but not expanding government beyond what is necessary. So I think when you look at limiting, when we talk about growth and development and we need to look at removing unnecessary barriers to growth and development within our powers. And so one of the ways that that came through was Plan Cheyenne. And so removing some of the unnecessary stuff in Plan Cheyenne to help encourage and promote growth and development, ensuring that you have a friendly building department for that. So I think that, generally speaking, most of the principles that you would see on a conservative platform are going to be shared by everybody up here, because we all are on the Republican ticket.
Yeah, that's pretty much me too. Trying to keep government at the minimum. Keep big government out of everybody's lives all the time and out of businesses. Getting rid of some of the unnecessary regulation and waste in those documents. Keeping a very sensible, balanced budget. It's taxpayers' money. It's got to be well managed and well spent, and keeping taxes low.
Being conservative doesn't always mean saying no. Being conservative is to support the individual rights and liberties of the citizens, which I do, and support the Constitution. But you also, when you're involved in government, you also have the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens that you're responsible for. So therefore, you have to provide at least minimal amount of government to provide those citizens with health, safety, and welfare. And you can't always do that by saying no to everything that comes along. And in order to do that, you also have to have employees that are qualified and that want to serve the citizens. So you have to pay them a wage that's commensurate with what they do and with what the market offers.
All right, thank you. And I think I lost track. Is it Amber?
Amber got the last one.
It's either Kevin, it's Kevin.
All right. This is a long one, so I'm going to try to shorten it if I can. If it was shown that Laramie County and the city of Cheyenne was supporting a local charity, and it turned out local charity was supporting Planned Parenthood, would you, if elected, be willing to bring this topic to public attention, and what would you do?
Absolutely. I think it would be needed to brought to the attention of the public. That's, to me, the whole goal of representing the people is to make sure that everybody stays abreast to these kind of situations. So I would bring it up to the public, and I would seek out the public's view on it. If it's something that causes an outrage within the community, then it's probably something that needs to be addressed.
I think you're talking about local government supporting Planned Parenthood. I do not support Planned Parenthood. I do not like abortion. I think somebody has to speak for the unborn, and
That I would hold life, big letters, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life is key to a person that holds strong principles and a Constitution. I would vote against that. And I vote yes for the Constitution, yes for the will of the people, and yes to reasonable and sensible taxpayers' money going to the right causes. But if they're funding Planned Parenthood, then all the stuff that was discovered over a guy walking in there with a camera, come on, folks. It's time to take a look at what they're doing on the inside, butchering babies and stuff like that. We, as a county, better not be funding those types of organizations.
So this question has actually been before the county commission as well. The question itself is actually a reference to United Way locally, and the fact that the United Way International funds Planned Parenthood. So there's some different perspectives within this question in terms of United Way locally does not fund Planned Parenthood. There is no Planned Parenthood in Laramie County. United Way locally pays what's essentially what I refer to as like franchise fees to the national organization, and they actually receive more money back from the national organization than what they put in. But if you think of like Super 8, it's typically owned by a local person, and then they pay a franchise fee, and with that comes marketing materials, training, those types of things. And so that's what United Way locally gets. They pay a franchise fee, and so the discussion evolves around whether or not you believe that those franchise fees that are paid to United Way are actually mixed in a pot of money that then is redirected over to Planned Parenthood through those channels. I think standard budgeting is you have different budgeting for different items, but the heart of the question that's before us right now is, do you support United Way? Laramie County has supported United Way locally, not internationally, not Planned Parenthood, not abortion. We supported the local one that provides money for CASA, Boys and Girls Club, Meals on Wheels, a whole host of local programs, not the international one.
All right, thank you. And unless anybody has any more questions, I have other questions.
I just would like to make a couple clarifications.
Well, can I get it in writing? That's sort of the rules, yeah. If somebody's got more in writing, I'm willing to take it, but I know you have more questions. The last
I
question.
just wanted a clarification.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is, the last question I'll ask them is, if somebody has other questions or wants a point of clarification, what is the best way to get a hold of you? Sorry, you Kevin, I guess because you're all the way Stephen.
Best way to get a hold of me is via email, which is listed on my cards there, or on my Facebook page, or you can call me anytime. It's 307-421-5616.
I guess most of you know the best way to get a hold of me is you can call me at the Commissioner's office. Also on my cell phone, 307-630-0241. I also have a Facebook page, Cheyenne Buck Homes or Homes for Commissioner, and so you can get a hold of me that way. You can call the Commissioner's office, and I also am in the phone book, so yeah, I'm not hiding from anybody, and you can find me most days. If you call the Commissioner's office and I'm not there, the Secretary will relay the message to me, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible.
Best way to get a hold of me is mark the check on the ballot, vote for M. Lee Hazenar for Laramie County Commissioner. And I will be available, an open door to all of you. My phone number is 307-640-4248. It's been that way for 18 years. You can email me m.lee.ctp@hotmail.com. You will get a hard-working, common sense Republican in there. Thank you.
So I can be reached at the Commissioner's office, the administrative assistant. If I'm not there, will email on the message to me. You can call my personal cell phone number at 630-9470. You can email me directly. My personal email address is on my cards back there. There's also the publicly listed Laramie County website, ash@laramiecounty.com. In addition, I have a Facebook page, Amber Ash for Laramie County Commissioner, and I've actually had that page for the past 3.5 years and used that to keep in communication with the public throughout the past 3.5 years that I've been on the commission.
Right, and again, I'd like to thank South Cheyenne Community Development Association and LCCC for sponsoring this event here tonight and for everybody coming out. And as an elected official, I also thank you for not bringing rotten fruit and rocks to throw at us. So, and ask you to join me in thanking the candidates here tonight.